Good afternoon. I just have a couple of quick announcements I want to make, if I could. Thank you. Just to remind you folks about the practice of good hand washing due to the coronavirus that's out there now. I'm sure you've heard it all over the news and what have you. We also ask that you don't visit with any signs or symptoms of the flu or a cold, just for to protect everyone's safety. We want you all to be healthy. So thank you for participating in that. Also, just to let you know that we have another 8-week session of Zumba classes coming up. That starts April 2nd, and another 8-week session of yoga, chair yoga, that's starting April 9th. Those classes are all at McCluskey School. If you're interested, we do have applications for those classes coming up. Also next week, March 13th, is our St. Patty's Day party. We will have Polka Paul entertaining us. There's no openings, unfortunately, for that party. We are completely booked. It will be some the food, because people have been asking me, it will be a seafood because we usually do fish on Fridays. If you want the real St. Patty's dinner, which is the corned beef and cabbage, that is on Tuesday. So check your calendars for that in the newsletter. All right, Gail, did I say everything? Did I forget anything or no? Oh, we do have openings still? Okay, so we are going on the Empire Chinese Buffet trip. That restaurant's located in Woonsocket, and there are still openings for that. If you want to sign up, there's sign-up sheets on the bulletin board for that. Also, Uxbridge High School is putting on a play called Once Upon a Mattress, and that is coming up, when is it, Gail? March 12th. We will provide transportation to the high school for that performance. I think you have to be here by 10. The show starts at 10:30 at Uxbridge High School, and they will also be providing free lunch for our seniors for that. We went last year. It was a great performance. Okay, so yeah, check out the bulletin board and the newsletter for other activities going on. All right, I'm going to have Chief Montminy is going to do a presentation for our speakers after everyone's served. But thank you again for another Lunch and Learn. Appreciate that. All right, so let's do a moment of silence before lunch, please.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get our programming started. Thank you for coming to another Lunch and Learn. My name is Mark Montminy. I'm the Chief of Police here. And today we have friends from Audio Journal who are going to speak to you about what they do. And I believe, if you're good, there's going to be a little skit as well. Is that right? Okay. So I'd like to introduce them to you. The executive director is Mary Franzen, and she brought with her Kathy Thornton and Nancy Schultzberg right there. So I'm going to turn it over to them so they can tell you a little bit about what they do, and then they will hopefully be the ones to run this skit we're going to see.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having us here today. It's so nice to see so many of you here, and the lunch was really very good. Excellent. Okay, Audio Journal. You can see our sub-logo is broadcasting to people who are blind. So basically, we're a radio station, and we broadcast news. So Audio Journal. People refer to us as a radio reading service for the blind, but we're not just for people who are blind. We're for anyone who has difficulty accessing print material due to a disability. For instance, someone who has Parkinson's can no longer hold a newspaper or magazine steady, so it's difficult for them to read. Or someone who's dyslexic. And there's a big difference between people who are legally blind and those who are visually impaired. Most people lose their sight later in life due to aging diseases such as retinitis pigmentosa or macular degeneration. Now I don't remember what point I was going to make. Okay. So we are available. If you were an avid reader and you lost your sight and you wanted to hear the local news, we are the place to go. We read the Telegram and Gazette. We read the Webster Times. We read the Uxbridge papers. We read Mendon papers. We are your local news source. This is the information that is most difficult for people who are visually impaired to get, because you can turn on the television and they can hear Boston news or they can hear national news, but we're the place for them to go if they want to hear very, very local news. We also read books and magazines. We have a couple of programs where people are actually reading the grocery and retail flyer ads, and we provide a lot of health information. We also have some specialty programs. Speaking Volumes is our radio book group. Once a month, a group of people come to our studio, they discuss the book, listeners can call in, and the book that's read is always available at the Talking Book Library. Oprah caught wind of this program, and she wrote about it in her February 2019 issue of O Magazine. That was pretty exciting for us. Armchair Traveler takes people to faraway places while they sit by their radio in the living room. Vocero Hispano is the local Spanish newspaper that we read once a week. There's a program called African American Experience, and it celebrates the tradition and historic and cultural contributions of African Americans. And we also have Radioactive Theater, which broadcasts old-time family films, old-time radio plays from radio and film. Catherine Thornton is the one who leads our Radioactive Theater program. I'll let her tell you more about that later. Go ahead. Okay, there are many ways to listen to audio journal broadcasts. You can go to our website and click on the Listen Live link, and you can hear us that way. You can call the phone number, 614-974-1026, and you can listen through Zeno Media. It works on a smartphone, it works on a regular phone. A lot of the cable TV stations will have us on in the background of the calendar. So, Catherine, you have it is available in Uxbridge. So if you're listening to the voice behind the calendar on your local cable channel, that would be Audio Journal. Okay. We also have a special receiver that's tuned to our frequency. They look just like regular radios. Some of them kind of look older. This is actually one of the more modern ones. But we don't operate off a regular radio station, commercial signal. That would cost way too much. We use what's called a subcarrier frequency. So if you think of, we use the WICN tower. So if their frequency is that wide, we're just using a small portion of that, which means that a regular radio, you can't find us on a regular radio. You have to have a radio that's specially tuned to our frequency, or use one of these other methods to listen to us. We also now are available on the Amazon Echo or the Google Home, which is our smart speakers. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play radio station Audio Journal on TuneIn. Give it 30 seconds, and you'll be hearing our broadcasts. So that's probably the easiest and the best way to listen to us. The tricky part about that one is that the listener needs to have Wi-Fi in their home. So if they don't, we bring them a radio if they prefer that listening method. But we supply the radios and the echoes at no cost to our listeners. So we've got programs on 24/7. Well, there are only two of us actually working in the office, so we can't do all the reading. So we have 130 volunteers who do the reading. Sometimes we're up as high as 150 volunteers. It varies. So for instance, they come in, the Telegram and Gazette is read every morning from 9 to 11 a.m. Two volunteers come in around 8 a.m. They prepare, they cut the articles out, they tape them together. You know, the article starts on page 1 and finishes on page 8. And they make sure they can pronounce the names and the other information in the article, and then they start reading from 9 to 11 a.m. They read the Telegram and Gazette. Many of them have been with us for a long time, 20, some 30 years. Most of these people are retired. Some of them are voice professionals. And a lot of them come to us just because they remember how much fun it was to read stories to their children when their children were young. So our volunteer process, we recruit you. Usually, sometimes we have posters at the libraries. Oftentimes a word of mouth that works. Or people come to us if they're interested in radio or voice work. On their first visit, they get to tour the studio. They get an orientation packet and they fill out an application. And then after that, you come in and you train with other readers, more experienced people. Some of those people who've been with us for 10 or 20 years. They know what they're doing for sure, and they teach you how to be part of our programming. And then you are live on the air. You are reading your program live. And that picture is of what's called the radio console, or the board, as we call it. And we teach the volunteers how to use the board. We are not in there helping them do their broadcasts. They do it all by themselves. We even have people who come in at night and on the weekend when we're not there, and they broadcast for us. This is a picture of the 1 month of the volunteer schedule. So we have people who, for instance, read one Saturday a month, or the first and third Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And we have Jim, our volunteer coordinator, who juggles all these people. It's quite a challenge. Okay, go ahead. Okay, and here are some testimonials from some of our listeners. Ever since you brought me the receiver, I feel as if I have been brought back out into the world. I am not so handicapped that I can't remain a contributing part of this world. My thanks to Audio Journal for your gift of life. So we help our listeners stay connected to the communities that are closest to them. Joe from Worcester, I love your show. I love it because I feel like I'm never alone. It's like my company. So a lot of elders and people who are visually impaired are socially isolated. They can't get around. They turn on Audio Journal and they've got a friend in the room. I appreciate the efforts of the volunteers to make my life more interesting. I feel more a part of the world because of what Audio Journal brings to me. And I find the shows interesting, informative, and entertaining. I wouldn't change a thing. A great big thank you. We love you as you are, Audio Journal. So that's our primary program, is to do the radio reading. We also do something called audio description. So if you like the Broadway shows at the theater, at the Hanover Theater, you come on a Sunday afternoon and you pick up a little receiver with an earbud. And then during the show, there's somebody sitting in a booth way high above the stage, and they're talking in your ear about what's happening on the stage. They're talking about costumes and scenery and movements of people. It's really pretty fun to listen to it and be a sighted person. I know sometimes the visually impaired person will say, well, I know what's going to happen before the person I'm with who's sighted knows, because they're whispering in my ear. So you might be laughing ahead of time, and it's kind of cute. A couple of other things that Come Touch the Art. On February 20th, we had a special time for people who are visually impaired to come to a tactile art exhibit, which it was meant to be touched. And that was at Arts Worcester, and the Worcester Talking Book Library promoted it as well as us. And then on Saturday, March 14th, we are having an album sale. So if you have albums that you're either dying to get or dying to get rid of, we are a great place to go. That's going to be at WICN. And last night, I was at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. These three young men, Ryan, Arakli, and Brendan, are doing a project for Audio Journal. And my hope is that eventually they will come up with a smartphone app that has the Audio Journal logo on it, and you'll have your phone, and you go boom on your phone, and then you'll hear Audio Journal. There are radio apps where you can get Audio Journal now, but it's not as straightforward as I would like it to be with just one touch. And on Saturday, May 9th, we are having our annual fundraiser. It's called Dining in the Dark, and you can get a taste of what it's like to be blind by eating a meal blindfolded. It's at the Hogan Ballroom in the College of the Holy Cross. Tickets are $75. Corporate sponsorships are available. I'm happy to answer any questions about the event. I'm happy to answer questions about anything. Do I have anything else in that PowerPoint? I don't think so. No, just a time for questions. Do we have any questions right now before we move on to the next situation?
What does someone who wants... Yeah, so just listen.
If they want to listen, they can call us up. Actually, we have a handout that we'll be giving you before you leave that will have phone numbers and information. One of the pages is how to listen, and it has all the pictures that you saw on the screen there.
Very interesting.
Yeah, even if you just don't want to physically read the paper anymore and you just want to listen to it, we're the place to go.
Yeah, but like for me, it would be, like I have this nice, it's an older stereo, but it's got big speakers and all that. But I can't just hit the button and audio journal comes on, but that would be great if I could.
Yep, we can help you out.
I'd love to sit there and just listen.
Please, contact us.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody else? Okay, now we're going to move on to Nancy Schulzberg right after she puts a bite of food in her mouth. Nancy is one of our volunteers, and she's going to tell you about volunteering at Audio Journal.
Thank you, Mary. And I started volunteering for Audio Journal over 10 years ago. And to tell you, it is scary and intimidating at first, just because you're on the radio, people are going to be listening to you, you don't see them. And my mouth was so dry. My mother had listened to me, and she said, "Were you nervous?" You know, my mouth dried up, and my tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. And when I moved it, it made a popping sound. I came over the radio, and I said, "Yes, I was." My mouth was as dry as a desert. But that went away over time, you know, and it just feels so natural and easygoing. And, you know, you're helping people out there. So I read every other Monday, and I do the Worcester Telegram and Gazette recap, and that starts at 7 o'clock. And it's really fun if anybody would be interested in trying it out. And you don't have to do the board, which you saw that on there. I don't do the board, so you don't have to worry about doing all kinds of technical stuff. You can just do some reading, and not just on the newspaper. You can read magazine articles, books, you know, and be a part of that book discussion group. So it's really good.
Thank you, Nancy. Now we're going to move on to Catherine. Catherine leads our radioactive theater program, and she is a member of our board of directors.
Okay, hello everybody. Radioactive theater became something I was interested in. There was someone who had done it for years before I joined Audio Journal, and then he sort of retired from it, and so there was no radioactive theater for a couple of years, and then I was introduced to it, and I said, sure, I'll try that. And so what we do is some old-time radio shows that many of you would remember and be familiar with, but we also take other plays and we just make them fit into that hour time slot. Sometimes they're comedies, they're mysteries, they're romances. We just did a version of Notorious and Rebecca and Sherlock Holmes. We did a wonderful version of Flash Gordon with old, really silly sound effects and dialogue, and we added the Queen soundtrack from the Flash Gordon movie in 1980. So it was kind of a crazy mixture. But what I'd like to do is show you today what it's like to do a radioactive theater program. And so we've got some willing and some reluctant actors who are going to show you what it's like to be on radioactive theater. All right, so I'd like those actors to come up here, and we're going to do a play called The Frontier Mortician. Okay, we have you can tell by the smiles on their faces how happy they are to be doing this. Okay, we're going to come up here. Some of us will use the microphones and some of us will just use our big voices. Wayne is going to sit here in the chair if that's okay. Is that comfortable for you? Okay, Trina? And some of you can share the other mic, okay?
And Mary, the applause. The applause now?
Yeah. Do the applause now. Okay? We have participation.
Sorry, I can't.
A little bit of participation from the audience. You're going to use your clappers or your own hands, okay? Mary is going to operate our applause sign. We also have one that says on air, and we use them when we do our live productions. We don't do one every year, but when we do, we have a really good time. The actors dress up in costumes. We perform for a live audience, as they did in the olden days, and we have a really good time with that.
Can you jack up the volume, please?
All right. Oh, we're back. We're kind of in and out, I guess. We've got some cowboy hats on there for our cowboys if they want to wear them. Okay. No, she's not a cowboy. You can be a cowgirl if you want to be. She's just looking for some way to hide. Okay, you're doing great. Hello, welcome to Radioactive Theater, bringing quality dramas to our listening audience. Today's presentation is The Frontier Mortician, a 5-minute radio play featuring Nancy Schultzberg as Sam a la mode, Trina Mendez as Pie a la mode, Wayne Tucker as Joe Silver, Chief Monami as Trigger Mortis, and Jack Daly as Arnie, and Catherine Thornton as the narrator. The makers of Factrical present Frontier Mortician. Are you skinny and run down? Are you so thin you have to wear skis in the bathroom to keep from going down the drain? When you turn sideways and stick out your tongue, do you look like a zipper? When you drink strawberry pop, do you look like a thermometer? Then you need Factrical, the drink that adds weight to you. Factrical is not a capsule, it's not a solid, it's not a liquid, it's a gas that you inhale. Factrical comes in one delicious gas flavor, mustard. It costs only $4.95 a case, and equipment for inhaling it costs $5,678. This includes a 5,000 cubic foot tank, 400 feet of hose, 3 pumps, 2 filter tips, and a partridge in a pear tree. Now for our story. The Adventures of Trigger Mortis, Frontier Mortician. The scene opens in the residence of Sam a la mode, a wealthy rancher and owner of the barbecue ranch in Spare Rib, Texas. Sam is dying and is talking to his lovely daughter, Piney a la mode, whom he lovingly calls Pie.
Pie, honey, I'm dying again. Go tell Trigger Mortis, the Frontier Mortician, have hearse will travel.
What is wrong with you, Daddy? What is your ailment?
I swallowed the thermometer, and I'm dying by degrees.
I'll go call Trigger Mortis right away.
Unknown to Sam a la mode, his head foreman, Joe Silver, is hiding outside listening to the conversation. He's a full-blooded Native American Indian, and Sam always calls him his faithful Indian companion, Silver. Sam doesn't hear Joe speak.
Let the old man die. I wished he would. Then I would have his ranch and be set for life. He's always got some disease. Last week he swallowed a dynamite cap, and his hair come out in a bang. And before he swallowed a hydrogen bomb, and he had an atomic ache, and he's suffering from a flower disease. He's a bloomin' idiot. Hey, here comes Pie a la mode's stupid boyfriend, Aaron. A poor kid. He's an orphan. Little orphan Annie. Now I'll sneak away.
I haven't seen my girlfriend Pie a la mode for 2 weeks. Boy, she has lovely eyes. One is brown, the other 2 are blue. Last time I was here, she rolled her eyes at me, and I picked them up and rolled them back. I remember the first time she kissed me. It made chills go up and down my spine. Then I found out her popsicle was leaking all over me. I'll knock at the door. It's me, honey. I call you honey because you have hives.
I call you Cookie because you're so crummy.
We interrupt this love scene to bring you a message from Peter Pan Makeup. Use Peter Pan before your pan peters out. This is the makeup used by the stars. Lassie, Gentle Ben, Phyllis Diller. Listen to this letter from Mrs. Murgatroyd Flugelhorn from Liverlip, Mississippi. My face was so wrinkled I had to screw my hat on. Then I used Peter Pan makeup and I don't look like an old woman anymore. I look like an old man. I had my wrinkles tightened up and now every time I raise my eyebrows I pull up my socks. I give all the credit to Peter Pan. Use Peter Pan and you can be beautiful too. Now back to Frontier Mortician. Trigger Mortis, the Frontier Mortician, is answering his telephone.
Okay. Oh, it's you, Miss Pile-O-Mode. You want me to come see your father? Well, my hearse has been giving me trouble. I think it blew a casket. I gotta quit using embalming fluid in the gas tank. The motor keeps dying. Yes, well, I'll have to finish my breakfast. I'm eating shrouded wheat and ghosty toasts. Well, I'll hurry right out. Goodbye. I must be shoveling off.
Pile-O-Mode hangs up and goes to meet her lover, little orphan Arnie, in their favorite meeting place, the family graveyard.
It's so romantic in the graveyard. There's a grave in my Uncle Ernest. Look, there's some maggots making love in the dead Ernest.
Darling, may I have your hand in marriage?
My hand? Oh, yes. In fact, you can have my arm, too.
Here, I'll put this ring on your finger.
Oh, your face is turning red.
Yeah, and your finger's turning green. After all, we've been going together for 12 years now.
So what do you want? A pension? Let's go tell my father.
This program is brought to you by the Double Insanity Insurance Company. Mothers, do you have children? Then protect them with a double deal policy. We pay $100,000 if your son is killed by a herd of white elephants going east on Thursday. If you lose an arm, we help you look for it. If you get hit in the head, we pay you in one lump sum. We have double indemnity clause too. If you die in an accident, we bury you twice. Now, a report from the National Safety Council. It is predicted that 356 people will die in accidents this weekend. So far, only 135 have been reported. Some of you aren't trying. Now, back to our story. Joe Silver is plotting to kidnap Pile-O-Mode and hold her for ransom. He thinks Sam a-la-mode is dying, but he really isn't. Trigger Mortis, Frontier Mortician, is on his way to the ranch.
Well, here I am. When you're at death's door, I'll pull you through.
Good to see you, Trigger. Can you give me a good funeral?
I'll give you a good funeral or your mummy back. Could I interest you in one of our layaway plans?
I'm a sick man. The doctor told me to drink some medicine after a hot bath, and I could hardly finish drinking the bath.
You need some of Whistler's mother's medicine. One dose and you're off your rocker.
Trigger, I can trust you, can't I?
Of course. Have I ever let you down?
I don't trust my faithful Indian companion, Silva. He has a sneaky look.
I happen to know, Sam, that Joe Silver wants to kidnap your daughter and keep her from marrying little orphan Arnie.
Trigger, we gotta do something. Think of a plan.
Will Trigger Mortis think of a plan? While he thinks, a word from Honest John Pendergast, the used car dealer. Honest John has bargains in used cars that you can't afford to miss. Here's an 1887 Essex. This is a revolutionary car. Washington drove it at Valley Forge. The tires are so beat that you not only knock the pedestrians down, you whip them to death. The car has low lines. In fact, it's so low it doesn't have doors. It has manhole covers. This program is also brought to you by Glum, the toothpaste that gives your bad breath the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. Are your teeth like the 10 Commandments, all broken? Do you have a Pullman car mouth, one upper one lower? Then use Glum. Glum contains eucalyptus oil flown in from Australia. This eucalyptus oil is the secret of Glum. Millions of users say, man, you flipped us. Be true to your teeth and they will never be false to you. Now, back to Frontier Mortician. Sam, Pie, Arnie, and Trigger Mortis are trying to figure out how to get rid of Joe Silver.
I have a splitting headache.
Have your eyes been checked?
No, they've always been blue. Trigger, why don't we put Joe in one of your coffins and ship him out of the state?
A tisket, a tasket. I'll put him in a casket. Listen, Sam, I was in love once, so I know what Arnie and Pie are going through.
You were in love?
I was stuck on a girl who worked at the glue factory. She had schoolgirl complexion with diplomas under her eyes. Her lips were like petals, bicycle pedals. Those lips, those teeth, that hair, that eye.
Here comes Joe Silver. Get your coffin ready, Trigger.
Daddy, lie on the bed and act like you're dead.
Sam lies on the bed and holds his breath. Trigger takes off his shoes and they all hold their breath. At this breathless moment, we bring you the daily police calls. Calling car 15, calling car 15. Happy birthday, car 15. You are now car 16. Car 56, rushing to the Bungling Brothers Circus. The fat woman has hay fever and is crying so much 3 midgets are about to drown. Car 23, return the 10-gallon hat you bought for the mayor. He has an 11-gallon head. Car 19, go to the corner of 6th and Main. The Chinese cook has just committed chop suicide. Now, back to the story. Joe Silver enters Sam's bedroom as the others hide.
Oh, so finally I caught you, you scoundrel. You've cut my check so many times I have to endorse it with Mercurochrome. I want to marry your daughter, Sam. And nobody's going to stop me. Sure, I'm tough. I've been sent up the river so many times, I've got fan mail from the salmon. Last night they caught me. I got 10 years in jail and 2 in the electric chair. Even when my baby, when I was a baby, people were always trying to pin something on me. Now I'm going to get you.
Get him, Arnie!
Help, help! I'm getting mushed.
That takes care of him. Now I have to run for a body. A fellow in town swallowed a quart of shellac and died, but he had a lovely finish.
How can we thank you? You'll come to the wedding, won't you?
Yes, I plan to give you a tombstone for a present, but don't take it for granted.
Thanks, Trig. By the way, stop over and we'll play golf someday.
Don't ever play golf with an undertaker. He's always on top at the last hole.
Now that we're alone, Pie, my love, someday you'll have my name.
I never did find out. What is your name?
My name is Arnie R. Square.
What a lovely name. I'll have. This is Pi R Square.
And as the sun sinks slowly in the west, we'll leave the lovers as they plan their future. Tune in tomorrow for a new adventure brought to you by Bleedies, the cereal for old goats. Bleedies contains 56% iron, 22% copper, 78% steel, 14% bronze, and 11% zinc. It doesn't snap, crack, or pop. It just lies there and rusts. Bleedies isn't the breakfast of champions. It's for people who just want to get to the semifinals. In closing, be sure to visit your local dime store where they're having a monster sale. Haven't you always wanted to own your own monster? We have vampires at special prices. They're all excellent for curing tired blood. These are experienced vampires who all work as tellers in blood banks. Now, tune in tomorrow for the first episode of the new story, I Was a Teenage Spinster, brought to you by the Gardener's Magazine, Weeder's Digest. We hope you've enjoyed The Frontier Mortician, presented by Radioactive Theater. This program is supported in part by grants from more than 30 cultural councils, local agencies which are supported by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, a state agency. Tune in next time for Radioactive Theater, a production of Audio Journal.
Yeah. You can have a hat. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Mary?
Aren't they fabulous? So Catherine has about 50 volunteers who do radioactive theater with her, and she picks out the scripts and then she casts people based on their voices. They come in the studio and they record the play, and then they edit it to add sound effects and music. It takes a long time for one production, but it's well worth it. You can hear Radioactive Theater on Audio Journal on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. So I think the way that you people can help me the most is help me identify listeners. We always want to help anyone out there who wants to listen to Audio Journal but isn't aware of us. So please, if you know somebody who's blind, visually impaired, print disabled, or would just like to listen to us, please let us know. We're going to pass out some information now, and we'll have phone numbers and other information on it. So thank you so much for having us here today. We really appreciate your time.